Hi, this is Obby, and I'm going to show you how to list keep for a round robin tournament. Now, for those of you who don't know, a round robin is a tournament format where everybody fights everybody else exactly once. Now, the first thing you'd want to do as list keeper is just get everybody's names of the people who are fighting in the tournament. Now, I would generally give them a number because that makes keeping the tournament a lot easier on paper. And now in this example, I'm just going to do it with a fairly standard amount of people for round robin, and I'm going to choose an even number in this case. Now, the first thing you want to do is obviously get their names. We've got that, so we start with round one. Now what you do is we start by writing out the numbers of the first half of the people. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this is the first round. The way it works is that the two people who are above each other, they fight each other. So person 1 fights person 6, then person 2 fights person 5, and person 3 fights person 4. Now what I would do, generally this is actually what I would have on the piece of paper during the tournament, and then as each person wins, I would just if it's fight, let's say person 1 was the winner, I'd just circle them, and if it's one person 5 won, and then in this one say person 3 won. So have each round and you have who won. Now the bit that actually is the sort of the guts of the round robin is how to then work out round 2 and then round 3 and so on. So if this is so I'm just going to draw out to round 1 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you notice, the pattern is we start here in 1 and we do the first half of the people, then we turn around and then do the second half, and we wind up below where we started. Now the way to actually get to round 2 from here is this one that's in the top left hand corner, they always stay exactly where they are. And then to get to each round, we basically rotate the rest of them by 1. So the 2 goes to where the 3 is, the 3 goes to where the 4 is, 4 goes to where the 5 is, 5 goes to where the 6 is, and the 6 goes up here. Now once you actually write that out, so you get 1, and then everything else is rotated, so we go 6, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you can see in this round, person 1 fights person 5, person 6 fights person 4, and person 2 fights person 3. So we'll just, determine some winners at random here. This is round 2. Now to get to round 3, it's exactly the same thing. We take round 2 and then we do this shuffling again like we did last time to get round 3. So if we go round 3, 1 stays where they are, and then 5 goes here, 6 goes here, and everything else goes by 1. So 6, and then we go 2, 3, 4. Now obviously this round, 1 fights 4, so we'll just pick some winners. That's round 3. Now I'm just gonna go through the next ones a little bit more quickly. So round 4, now 1, and then 4, 5, 6, 2, 3. Now, whoever wins, you circle the winner in that round. Now, okay, that's round 4. I'm going to put that up here. We'll go to round 5 next. And that 1 stays where they are. Then we go 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Yeah, once you do the round, figure out who the winners are. Now if we go on to the next one after round 5, you'll see you get 1, and then 2 goes here, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, as you can see, this is exactly the same as what round 1 was. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means we've basically looped around and got back to where we started. So this round we've already done, which means round 5, that is the last round in the tournament. Now, Now, one thing to keep in mind with this is when you're going from one round to the next, you want to minimize people having sort of 2 fights in a row. So if they're the last fight in round 2, you don't want it to be the first fight in round 3. Now, with this method, it's really easy to do that. Basically, what you do, so this is round 1. You do this fight first, and then you do this fight, and then you do this fight. Then round 2, you do this fight, this fight, this fight. So as long as you're always rotating this same way, then do your fights, start with the left column, move all the way up to the right column, then that basically guarantees that you aren't going to have people coming up twice in a row, because they're not coming up last here and then next round picking from here, so they're not going to come up twice in a row. The only possible exceptions to this is when you have a really small number of people. So if you've got 6 people in your tournament, this is guaranteed not to get them twice in a row. If you have fewer than that, there's not enough choices available to guarantee it, so you may need to just sort of manually move things around a bit, but it doesn't matter. If you want to move the order of these fights, you can, as just doing in this standard order is a useful way of not having people go up twice in a row. Now, one thing you notice with this, it's an even number of people, so we've got half in the top row, half in the bottom row. Now, one other thing that can happen with a round robin is that you have an odd number of people. Now, if that's the case, because everyone gets paired up with one other person in each round, then each round there's going to be one odd person, so a person left over who's not going to fight in each round. Now, we generally call that the bye, so pair everyone up, and then in round 1 this person gets the bye, and then each round a different person gets the bye. Now, the way to actually do that on paper, it's exactly the same. What I'd normally do is I would, instead of starting at 1 and then going up to the number of people, I'd start with B, and I'd call it B for bye, and then say if we had 5 people, so it's an odd number, let's go combatant. Actually, instead of doing 5, we'll do a larger number, just so it's different than last time. So if we had 7 people, so if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you can see if this was round 1 in our round robin, in the first round, see fighter 7 gets the bye, which means in the first round fighter 7 doesn't actually have to have a fight, and then person 1 fights person 6, person 2 fights person 5, and then person 3 fights person 4. Now exactly the same method for an odd number, so if you go on to round 2, then B, bye stays where they are, and everything else rotates around, so then 7 moves up here, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see in round 2 then fighter 6 gets the bye, meaning they don't fight. Fighter 7 fights fighter 5, 1 fights 4, then 2 fights 3. Now, so this is this same method, so this works for odd and even numbers, and you can scale it up to as many people as you want to. So even if you had a really big round robin, like something like La Provadura, we've got lots and lots of people, you can still use exactly the same method. Say if we had 20 fighters, for example, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Exactly the same method, it just means you've got your more columns. So this is round 1, these people fight, and these people fight, these people, and then it rotates exactly the same way as a smaller one would. Now, they're pretty straightforward to do. All you really need is a pen and paper. One thing I normally do when keeping lists is I go back to my first page where I'm doing my list sign in. Got this thing where I'm assigning everyone a number and then take down their name. I would generally take a copy of this section and write it on a piece of paper and give it to the herald. So if I tell them around to announce and I just give them numbers, they can just read that out, and it makes communicating with the herald much easier. The other thing I do is if you're marking down who's been inspected or who's authorized, that sort of thing, you can just do a little tick box to say yes, the marshal's inspected them. And yeah, that's basically it. So round robin's really easy. If you can do a small one on paper, you can do a large one. The only way a larger one gets more complicated really is that obviously is more writing to do, it takes longer to actually shuffle each round. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the amount of time it takes to actually do a whole round robin goes up very quickly with the number of people. So if you had 4 or 5 or 6 people in your round robin, then the round robin get done in a fairly reasonable amount of time. But if you had 20 people, a round robin would take a very, very long time. Now, it's just something more for the math geeks out there. So if this is the number of fights, so the total fights, and then if we say P is the number of people, the number of fights in total equals the number of people times the number of people minus 1 divided by 2. Therefore, the number of people equals 6. Number of fights equals, 6 times 5 over 2, so 30 over 2 is 15. But if we had 10 people, you can see that the number of fights is then 10 times 9 over 2, so 90 over 2 is 45. And if we had 20 people, the number of fights is 20 times 19 divided by 2, which is 10 times 19 equals 190. So you can see as the number of people goes up, the number of fights in the whole tournament goes up very, very quickly, and that means it's going to take a long time. So round robins are only good when you've got a fairly reasonable number of people. When you go up to beyond that, you want to do something else like a elimination tournament, because the number of people goes down each round, so it's going to take more time. So it's going to take a more reasonable amount of time. That's pretty much it. If you want to give me any feedback on this video, please feel free.